from an ag background or anything like that. But I always had one goal in mind, and that was to graduate from high school. I'm a first-generation student from high school, not just college. So attending high school has always been a dream of mine because my mom never got to graduate, and neither did my dad. So luckily, Clewiston High School has a great program called Collegiate Academy, where I also get to graduate from college at 18 years old. So I'm in my sophomore year of Florida Southwestern State College, and in my senior year, graduating in April and in May. Collegiate Academy is a program where less than 20% of us students get to participate. So for me, this was such an accomplishment, and I was so happy to be able to join this program. Coming from a low-income family, being able to complete 2 years of college was awesome. Tuition costs are crazy expensive, so being able to get those 2 years out of the way, that was, yes, I'll do it. All of the resources are at our fingertips. We don't have to pay for books. We don't have to travel to LaBelle to meet our professors. They all come to us. We get to have the college life in our high school. And at the same time, I get to participate in FFA. I am the Clewiston FFA chapter's secretary. This is my second year of FFA, and all I can say is it's done nothing but greatness. Goodness. Being in FFA has allowed me to branch out and get out of my comfort zone of just staying shy in high school and not talking to many. I'm a little nervous, as you can tell, but with FFA, it's helped me with my public speaking skills and just doing stuff like this. I also get to help people in my community. For Christmas, we do community outreaches, just like giving gifts to the nursing homes and helping families that can't afford Christmas for their kids. So it's just an awesome program. Just like Braylon, my goal is to become an agriculture teacher. I plan on attending the University of Florida in the fall and majoring in agriculture, education, and communications. Through FFA and my advisors' helpfulness, I was able to tour the University of Florida in December, where they gave me a whole campus tour, and I got to meet the professors that may one day be teaching me. Without the help of Miss Yosis, Miss Gatis, Miss Goff, and Mr. Summers, and the rest of the Clewiston High School staff at our assistants, the work being done at the Clewiston High School would not be possible, and I would not be standing here today with all of these accomplishments. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Rashari Hardy, and I would like to talk to you all about my experience with Florida Southwestern. Now, I am able to have this opportunity through the collegiate program, like Justice mentioned, where under 20% of the students are able to participate in it. And honestly, I just want to talk about how that has helped project my college career thus far. You see, I grew up in Hartwell, so I didn't really see a lot of people going to college. I barely even saw people completing high school. So I felt that it was necessary and important for me to take that step, especially considering I have a younger sister who didn't really see my older siblings go to college. And I wanted to be that example for her. My father has served a pretty big role in establishing that commitment to go to college for me. Now, Florida Southwestern has introduced me to different modes of learning, different environments, and just pretty much a different experience. Because yes, I'm on the high school campus, but the classes I take aren't at the speed or the same difficulty of the high school classes, because it goes way beyond that. It has allowed me to facilitate like this mode of understanding and independence, and to just pretty much push myself forward, but to understand I still have support if I need it. I felt that this is something that honestly should be available to all high school students, not just people in the underserved communities, not just people that have the means Collegiate has helped me in my journey of applying to schools. Like, I have been accepted to schools such as Spelman, Howard, and LSU. And I'm waiting for other decisions from UF and FSU at the end of this month. So I feel as if, yeah, Collegiate has been very important in my life, and it has saved me from going down the same path as others. And I felt that something like this is necessary because many people that look like me feel as if the only way that we'll make it forward is if we have to work early, we have to get into these fields, we have to like do all that, and that is important work, don't get me wrong, but I want other people to understand this is not the only work we have available. Working is not the only option. We have education, we have resources, we have people that will be here to help you. We just have to do it on our own, and we just have to want that help. And I feel that Clueston High School is really doing a good job of showing us that we have this help, we have this support, and we don't have to be like the people that we don't want to be. Thank you.
Questions, comments from the board?
Just wow. You girls are wow.
You ladies are fantastic public speakers.
Very inspirational.
Yes. Old school, I like that.
Yes, ma'am. I felt a little unprepared because I noticed that.
I just, not that I'm going to try to sway you, but should you hear from FSU?
Oh, well, that's definitely one of my top choices.
Thank you.
Great job.
Great.
So no, you're fine, dear. So what I would like to say to this board and to everyone sitting around you and behind you, you know, a lot of times, wait, don't go far, girls, stay up, oh, wait, girls, wait, girls, no, wait. Yeah. So, you know, oftentimes we get over our heads in the minutiae of running the school district and the problems and the issues and a lot of the things that get brought to us are the things that are just on fire and out of control and we have to fight. And isn't it refreshing to hear a student say, I love school?
Yes.
You know, this school, you know, has changed my life. And if you listen to all the adjectives that these students, and I have to believe that they're probably more indicative of the average students that we have, and the other problems that we have are a small piece, but a loud piece that require a lot of attention and the effort. So this is the examples of what our schools are doing in Hendry County and Clueston. This is an example of the great teachers that we have. This is an example of the great leadership that we have sitting in the back of this room that run these schools. I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be more proud of what y'all have done and who y'all are and the leadership that y'all bring to the table. Thank you so much. And I'm so proud, you know, that y'all are taking the next steps upon yourself to be leaders, public speakers, go on to college, finish these degrees, set an example for what can be, you know, of students your age, rather than, you know, the opposite of the ones who don't see the pathways. So thank you all so much, and I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of your leadership at Clueston High School. Would y'all want to come up, and if y'all turn and face, we'll stand up and we'll get a group picture because I want to remember this great event.
He's not doing this right.
Mr. Shire, someone's gonna get in here?
There we go. We want to.
All right, now you're talking. Three rows of
I can clean up all right.
Area.
Now, you guys are all welcome to stay for as long as you want, but if you want to leave, this would be the great time to do that as well. Thank you. Y'all be safe.
Were the boys supposed to present?
I think they were support
They were
staff.
just support.
I think they were support
The
staff.
boys were support.
Were the boys supposed to present anything?
No, sir.
All right, emotional support, all right, good.
Yep.
Put it all on the lady.
Well, we have class tonight, so we're supposed to be.
Mr. Summers, I want to tell you, my first job here was at the high school in Clewis. I started in 1984. And I've always had an attachment to the high school. And the way it has grown and the services you guys are providing for the students is phenomenal. The vocational training, the technical training, FFA, the Collegiate Academy. What opportunities you guys are providing for the children of today. It's unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good night. Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Moving right along, Mr. Superintendent, do we have any citizen comments on the agenda items?
Not at this time.
Okay, seeing there are no comments, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Mr. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation for the consent agenda?
I do want to clarify one. Do we know which item that we need to pull from that?
It's on the action items.
Okay, very good. At this point in time, I approve your favorable consideration and approval of the consent agenda as printed.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hey,
Oh, sorry.
Madam Chair,
Marcia's trying to-
do we have the option of
Oh.
pulling things?
Absolutely. Is there something you'd like to pull and put on the action?
I would like, I have comments on 3 of them, and I'd like to pull the fiscal year 21 operational audit.
So you remove item H. Will now become action item D. Okay. Is there another one?
No, there's just comments on some other ones.
So do I have a motion to,
You had a motion and a second.
okay, so now discussion.
Okay, this, what I have to say pertains to action item B, personnel recommendations. I would like to see for the district, I don't know about you guys or for the board, I see these personnel action items, and it's hard for me to grasp where we have vacancies. I remember back in the day when we had a vacancy spreadsheet that showed us where our schools have vacancies and where our departments have vacancies, a list of all the allocations and then the ones that are filled. And I'd like to see the positions we have filled, if they're like permanent subs or out of fill teachers in core subjects, for that to be noted. That would be fantastic. Maybe like on a monthly.
You want that to go out with these? Would you like to see that at the board meeting as well?
I think that would be
Yeah.
the board. We never really previously made it a part of our agenda. I don't think, it's a problem doing that because then but we always, it was like before every board meeting. I don't need that every board meeting, but like once a month to just kind of see where we are at on our vacancies.
It's a live document. We can share it with you.
Okay, perfect. And then when I look at all the movement that we've got going on here, I'm wondering if we're doing any kind of exit survey with our people. And not only about their experience within the district, but also maybe expanding the questioning to include questions about the community as far as like healthcare, childcare, community amenities and programs, because, we have a tremendous responsibility to recruit and retain, but a lot of these things are out of our wheelhouse and things that we can influence. And I know we come to commissioners and other people with a narrative, but if we can actually like put some things on paper and say, this person said an influencing factor of the reason that they left Hendry County is recreation programs or something like that. I mean, it's just putting something out there, but something where we can have like really drill down and address maybe the core issues and work with community partners to address those.
Sure.
So just thoughts on that. And then when I look at the additional days and hours, typically anything that we have had paid on here where you see a dollar total is out of general funds. But I would like to expand that to even ones that are paid for transparency purposes. that are paid out of even federal funds. Like you see our additional days and hours, we're looking at, and I think this rolls into what I was saying about the cost cautiousness, is I would love to know how much, even if it's federal dollars, not the general fund, how much are we spending on these trainings and this additional time? I think it's just a little more transparent, and I'll tell you what actually spurred my thought on that was when I requested to abstain. We didn't have enough people for me to abstain last meeting because there was a stipend for my spouse that was included in there. And then when I got additional documentation, because I was thinking when we said it, I was like, man, it just passed, go past it. Like, if we can just get it done tonight, forget about the stipend. But then I look at it and it's like $1,200. And that was shocking to me. Like, I didn't realize, I kind of like thought these were like additional hours. What his per hour rate is. And so it was not transparent to me, and I just think that that would be a good way for us to see what we are expending, even in funds that aren't the general.
So to be clear, you just want to know the source of the funds paid?
Not the source of the, I'm pretty sure it's federal funds, but the amount. Because if you see anything that we're paying, particularly like transportation, the additional cost incurs, you have a dollar amount, but those are general funds.
Okay.
But I would like to see what we're spending in any other funding too, for additional hours or anything that we're paying above contract.
Okay. Is that in all funds? Because you mentioned federal, but there are many others as well.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
just,
Right.
if these folks are, I don't need even the breakdowns, how much are we spending in this? Like, how are we gonna determine our return on investment?
Did you get that, Ms. Cox? You understand?
Is that-
what she's asking?
Yes, but that would be on HR since they compile this, they get the extra duty forms, so I'll let Dr. Staley respond.
Okay.
I need to research, obviously, because that's,
Okay.
All right, well, I'm not,
me, but I don't see a problem with it, because even working from the grant side of it, we know where they're coming from and what they are and how much they are. So
Right. We'll work on it. If we need clarification, we'll reach back out and
All
make
right,
sure that we
that's-
get exactly what's requested on there.
that would be perfect. And then my second comment is on our late hire out of field teachers. I know that we've already seen a list of these this year. Would it be possible to get a comprehensive list of all the out of field teachers? It's particularly in those core subjects. I'm okay with it maybe being out of compliance with like ESOL. I know how long that takes and how cumbersome that is, but I'm very concerned about the areas, particularly in our reading and core subjects. I know we're doing the best we can, but I would just like to see just an overall view of where we're at as far as people being out of field, and just wanted to make the comment that K-12 has quite a list, and I hold them to a different standard than us. I do have a problem with their ESOL. So that's just all I had to say on that. That's it.
Okay, then let's take a vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Consent agenda passes unanimously. All right, action items. Action item A, new personnel allocation request. Superintendent, do I have your recommendation on this personnel allocation?
At this time, I recommend approval of the new personnel allocation request.
So moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? It's okay, I'm having the same kind of night.
It's lonely.
It is weird. No further discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. New personnel allocation. Action item B, extra duty form, federal program stipend. We were going to table until the next board meeting when we can have a quorum.
Yes.
Okay,
Pull that one for now.
so I pull that one. Action item C, hearing, senior management class change as advertised. Mr. Superintendent, do I have your recommendation on that?
Yes, the recommendation.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is our
Yeah, we
hearing.
have
I need
go
to
through
open the hearing.
Yeah.
I have written all over my words. Okay, so we're going to open the hearing for the senior management class change as advertised. Are there any comments from the public regarding the proposed title changes to the FRS senior class management as listed? Okay. Mr. Superintendent, do I have your recommendation?
Yes, I recommend approval of the senior management service class changes as printed.
Okay. Seeing that there are no other comments, motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Can board members have our comments after we have the first and the second?
Oh, can
sorry,
we
what
have some
was the question?
discussion?
Yeah, you can
afterwards?
go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had some.
So I called earlier and spoke to HR about how this moving senior management position for FRS from Director of ESE and Student Services to Director of Workforce, like how that came about. And it was, I guess, based on seniority. And I'm not a fan of seniority. And I mean, this has nothing to do with any of the people who are behind these titles. But I think that the Director of ESE Services, it's a tough job. It's high stakes job. It is one where you are in a very litigious atmosphere. Like it's one that I would think if I was out there looking, if something happened and we had to go out for a new ESE director, you want to attract your best and your brightest. And I think that FRS senior management attached to that ESE director is going to make it more attractive going forward for other people. I mean, not that we're getting rid of Ms. White, but in the event that this does approve tonight, then that is going to stick with your Director of Workforce Development. I'm not saying workforce development's not worthy of it, but are we making the best decision for our ability to recruit and retain going forward by deciding either do we pare it down so everybody gets FRS management, or do we decide what positions that FRS management sticks with instead of going with the seniority? Am I making myself clear?
You are, and just to make sure you totally understand the background, the FRS senior management class is derived off of our employment numbers, and we have one more senior level management membership than we've got allocations. But we're also teetering right on the brink of being able to add another one in the state size. And so then at some point in time through the year, I think the magic number was 1,000 or a click over 1,000. But then as people move and shift around, we fall back under it. And so we're right on the verge. I believe that because of the growth we have had, I think that we're probably getting close to being able to be awarded that one from the state anyway. So that would alleviate your valid concerns and thoughts. And so we hope
I just don't want to undercut an ESE position because it's
right.
It's hard to lure folks into that job to begin with.
I agree. You make some great points, and they're all important. You're right about that. There's not one that's not important, because that would make an easy decision. But they are all important, and my goal is to get everybody there and not have to leave anyone out.
Any further discussion?
That's it.
Okay. Then all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
No, you can, the chairman makes a decision. You can vote to make it 50
You're the tiebreaker.
You can vote in favor.
Then I will vote in favor, yay. Aye. Okay, then action item hearing will pass. So now I close the hearing, right?
Yes.
So that hearing is closed. Now we're going to move on back to the action items. We're going to do action item D, which was the FY21 operational audit. Mr. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
I recommend approval of the operational audit as presented.
Have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes. So I've sat here through 7 audits, and this one, I don't think it's very surprising. We knew that with the transition that it was going to be rough. I think that was kind of the unspoken anticipation. I wasn't expecting it to be that rough. And I'm looking through things in this audit. I'm very concerned about Is this, I mean, this audit's going to be on our website, correct?
I believe that's part of one of the caveats that has to be posted, yes.
I would just, you know, I'm concerned about the issues with HCSO handing over the required documentation, as well as, you know, it talks about being absent effective policies. And I thought that that was why we have Neola, because they're talking about these policies are not aligned with statute. We don't have the policies and procedures in place. So is that something that Neola would have to, I mean, would that be something that would be generated from Neola because it is state law?
And that, and this, a bit of a moving target because state laws change, state laws are implemented, and then.
But that's Neola's job, to keep it coming, the updates coming.
And they do, as a matter of fact, you know, and that's one of the things coming up, you know, in a few minutes, you can see that it's there. And so the audit caught one of the areas that we were deficient in that we didn't get caught, and that Neola either came about before or after in transition, fell through the cracks, however you want to look at it. So yes.
All right. Some of the language here is disturbing. I mean, to me, when it says the district has limited assurance that the SROs are appropriately trained to avert or appropriately intervene during school crises, and the district cannot demonstrate that all appropriate measures have been taken to promote student and staff safety.
Did you read the?
I've read the answers to them.
Okay.
Because
when you read through that, I mean, these are, and if you read that statement alone, it is a pretty disturbing statement. When you read the backup documentation for it, when they talk about, it may be there, but we're not getting the information from the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is not bound to give them anything to satisfy us or our audits. And so we're confident, and we have seen and witnessed the training that is there. And so that becomes a paperwork issue and what the sheriff's department is willing to share and not willing to share for their safety or for their protocols or for whatever reason. So you kind of have to weigh that in. It is an audit. We are taking a gut punch for it. But in reality, that's just not the case of what's printed.
Ms. Shattuck, is there, in our most recent, and I'm sorry I'm asking you this off the cuff, it just came to me, in our most recent contract renewal for SROs with the district, were the legal issues and the contractual language that's outlined in here remedied in the new contract? Do you know? Mr. Brown, do you know?
No, they weren't. I've already been, when we got the report, I started talking with the sheriff's office. And since the contract is going, the MOU is going to expire sometime this year, we thought the easiest solution to remedy this whole situation is that in the contract that it be noted that the SROs are CIT trained. Every sheriff's deputy is CIT trained. But just to have it in there to satisfy the auditor's requirement, it's the addition of one sentence when we go to the revision, and they agreed that would be the easiest fix. And that way it's in there, it's legally binding, and it's something that's already in place. It's just we're going to put it up in.
All right, when can we expect to see that?
The contract, I believe, it's a contract up in June, I believe, the MOU.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
June 30th, I think.
Well, you'll see it sooner than that because we have 6 months to make these corrective actions.
Yes.
So it'll have to be corrected before, you know, the 6 month period,
Okay.
which the clock's ticking on that now.
You know, and the overall theme of what you're reading in here, and you have heard me say this before, is internal controls. You hear me complain, and it's been years talking about internal controls. I would have to say that the virtual instruction program, what are we doing to get on top of that? That is, and I know that was another thing that you inherited. One of the things that strikes me that they called us out for not offering to provide access or reimbursement for the electronics or the internet service. Are we obligated to pay that, like,
They do
claims to them like retro?
Our contract service provider does provide that. We do not, but they
Okay.
do. And they are coming here because there is some contractual language that it addresses that was short in there, and they're right. And so the CFO, the CEO of that company is coming here in 2 weeks to meet with us, to ratify the contract, and to provide everything that we need to make sure that we satisfy this and other concerns that we have as well.
Okay, perfect. And then, talking about information technology, data and who's got access to it. That is, I've never shared my kid's social security number with the school because I've always been apprehensive about what could happen to it. And then when you look at the list of folks who were giving access to that information, I mean, I remember getting a letter one time that said, "I know your secrets." And that was immediately like what came to mind. And is that, the access to these kids' information, health information, and things like that. And I'm glad to see that that is going to be reined in. My question on the virtual instruction program was, we had 99 users, 67 district employee, 32 external users, had IT user access privileges to social security numbers. Did anybody from like the K-12 have access to our Hendry County School District brick and mortar?
No, that from the get-go, Mr. Adams, we guarded against that and made sure that there was no access from there, except for the data that they collected for their students.
All right. Well, those was the areas of high concern for me. Protecting that student data and making sure that their personally identifiable information is in the hands of the right people, because it could be catastrophic if not. And then I wrote a note here, and I didn't know if it would go with the audit or with your presentation, but just asking to be brought up to speed on the plans, processes, and procedures to perform cost-benefit analysis to ensure that we are, like with the ERP, I know there was questions about it not being the least costly, and making sure we're making impactful investments with our taxpayer dollars. And then, we focused for a long time on evaluating every single person in this room, evaluating our teachers, evaluating our students. We really have to be evaluating the tools that we're providing them. Because you can't dig a trench with a teaspoon. And so those are just my thoughts.
Mr. Brown?
Sir.
So you read the audit. I know you went through it thoroughly. Do you see any issues that you don't think you're going to be able to address by our next annual audit?
No, sir.
Mr. Adams, I know you went through this too.
I did.
Did you see any issues with the Social Security numbers or anything else that you don't think you're going to be able to address by our next audit?
They have already been addressed.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I had.
And then I would just like to add that, again, with the business of our size, the magnitude of what we have, and to make sure that I was on base with it, I called out to a handful of colleague superintendents that run rural districts that have been superintendents for quite some time. Is it good? No. Do we need to do better? Yes. Do we need to tighten up systems? Absolutely. Every one of them said operational audits happen. That's these people's job to look at where deficiencies are and point them out. Will these be addressed? Yes. Will they find audits in 3 years when they do this again? They will. We're not going to get out of it because that's the nature of the beast. People come and go. They didn't know what the past practice was. Laws change, and now what was required, we didn't even know. And so for you, the public, anyone listening, I don't want y'all to get the impression that in 3 years from now this is going to be clean, they're going to pat you all on the back. That most likely is not going to happen. What we will do is we will address every single one of them, and we will put things in place to make sure that these do not happen again, and we do better as we go. So I just want to make sure you're all aware of that. That's exactly right. Yes.
Any further discussion?
This was just, from my perspective, this was a transitional year. People are going to get a little grace and mercy from me because we had that superintendent transition, but the next one, there will be less grace and mercy on that one because, to whom much is given, much is expected, and we want to run as an efficient and transparent and accountable organization as possible. That's it for me.
Before we vote, just for clarification, Mrs. Giesler, did you make a motion on
Yes.
You made the motion,
And I second it.
okay. All right, then, all in favor of the approval of fiscal year 21 operational audit?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carries, it's approved. All right, moving on to board member business. Permission to advertise proposed policy revisions. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
Yes, recommendation is to seek your favorable consideration to advertise the policies as printed in your agenda.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
It was a lot of reading. I'll
It
tell you
was
what,
a lot
I
of
would go
reading.
through that and try to pick it. I said, my gosh, there's a lot of material there. Not that I totally understand everything, but it becomes the very first line, as the responsibility of the board, school board is to, and then I read 15 giant paragraphs about it. And so I'm trying to become more informed on that. Ms. Pearson showed me how I can access more information on it, so I think I'm good. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of permission to advertise proposed policies?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carries. Proposed policy revisions. All right, board member business, regular board member business, Ms. Houston?
Okay, I have a couple of them. Ms. Cox said something that made my professional heart pitter-patter when she was talking about the cost-benefit analysis being part of the strategic plan. And so that leads me to believe that the strategic plan is getting ever closer to coming to the board. So am I correct on this?
You are. We have a final draft, and we're going to go back out to those stakeholder meetings that helped kind of craft the original formula, and then do some internal organizations, and they are setting those meetings up. There was one scheduled for this week, but we've had to bump it a little bit, so they're in the process. So you should see it possibly the first meeting in March. We will be able to bring it to the board.
This is very exciting.
Yes.
I made a request for DAOF's academic progress monitoring data. I know that, we do have purview over looking at that information, even though it's a charter, an online charter. And you guys have been transparent. We're providing that for our brick and mortar. So I would like K-12 or DAOF to share theirs as well.
Yes.
Because I really was not expecting that performance on the standardized tests.
Yeah.
I'd like to see where they are at.
So, and they're more than willing to share, but they are on a little bit different cycle than we are. We got our schools pretty much synchronized, a much better job of it, but they were just on a different schedule. So the first and second week in January, they were still testing.
Okay.
And so they said as soon as they get it finished and finalized and get the charts like what we had, then they will be glad to share that with us. So they're doing it. They're just a little bit behind on testing themselves.
Understood. I know I asked for vacancy data. I would also like the board to be provided at least one meeting a month with enrollment data. And if possible, on the enrollment data for each school, if we could have whatever the fish capacity is of that particular school next to that, so we see how quickly we're growing and what our needs are at each school. We're hearing narratives, it's these huge numbers that are jumping, but I would, like just to see, on paper how packed.
Again, as mentioned earlier, with this particular request, we have a live document that is kept up weekly.
Okay.
If y'all would want to be added to that email, you can see it every Friday. Ms. Weiss keeps that up, updates it, and then sends that out.
That would be fantastic.
Okay.
I'd like to have that.
Okay, well, we'll include the board on that email every Friday.
Because I feel like, and I know that, these have been, just what I'm hearing and not seeing actual numbers, I feel like, we are needing to adjust to provide some immediate relief. And I think, that information is going to help us in our long-term relief of overcrowding. And then in particular, when I was thinking about Clueston High School and LaBelle High School, and I know that for many, many, many years, they've been about the same size. And the culture here is if the Clueston High School gets an allocation, then LaBelle High School gets an allocation and vice versa. But now when you're thinking of the tremendous growth and just the last numbers I heard, it almost seems to me that we want to review maybe our administrative allocations. Because when you're thinking about your student to administrative numbers, they're way different in LaBelle than they would be in Clewiston. And are we aligning our administrative resources to serve those students? And that was just something I have been thinking about.
Okay.
And then feral cats on campuses.
About ducks? Yeah, ducks in the elementary school.
Well, board policy says that if you can have your animals on campus, but they have to be vaccinated and things like that. And so, I mean, I don't know how other people feel about it, but
Is this a Clewiston issue or? a
I saw it with my own eyes at Clewiston High School. I'm like, what is going on here?
Ironically, we don't have a rat problem there, though.
Well, so thinking long-term on that, one of the things that grosses me out is like the campus is their litter box, including like the FFA gardens and stuff like that. But the second is like if you do see the value of them being mousers, then I know that like the city of Clewiston, you can have those cats trapped and spayed and released back on your property. But at least they wouldn't be making more and more and more and more and maybe control the population a little better there. It's kind of, they're running rampant.
Good luck with that. Because we're dealing with the ducks over
I was
there.
just gonna say, let's talk about the ducks.
Yep, yep. And I have pictures where the ducks have done their business down the sidewalk. Yeah.
So we can't remove these nuisance animals from campuses?
I believe we were told if
You
we
can.
trap them.
Right, there's ways to do it humanely.
Yes, you just have to be very specific.
Right, relocate them to spots where they are more conducive. Yes.
Yeah, it's a whole, I've been working on this side for a while. Yeah, when I said don't bring them to Felton.
You can't just.
Yeah, you can't just go out. Oh, and on the rec board, we were told that when we find eggs, because the rec board is right next door to LES, when we find the eggs, we can destroy the eggs. But I mean, that doesn't solve the problem now, unless they're still going to lay eggs in other places that.
Little omelet.
Yeah, I guess you can cook some duck eggs if you choose, but anyhow, good luck.
Gross.
Yeah. So you have anything further, Mrs. Busey?
That's it.
All right.
Let it all hang out
Moving
today.
on, Mr. Sammerdike.
Yeah, let me pass these down. You. Anyway, I want to start out with something positive. Every school that I've been into and talked to teachers or administrators about the lunch program at Sodexo, the teachers and the administration have been very pleased with the new salads that are available and the soups that are available for schools. I've heard nothing but positive responses. And also, and another thing about Sodexo is they've sort of taken and supporting some of the schools in their fundraisers, like the Chili Bingo and stuff like that. They're now assisting with that more than ever and being more supportive to the schools. And I want to recognize that and appreciate those efforts. Thank you. Now, moving on. Last month, or on January 4th, when I was here, I was discussing or promoting impact fees for the schools. I discussed Collier County and how much they do. Lee County, also know that Glades County is now exploring impact fees because part of Port LaBelle is actually in Glades County. So I know that I talked to school board members and now they're exploring it. But I do have a figure here. Since January 4th at LaBelle High School, there's been 72 new enrollees. 27 days, 72 new students. Now, I think Ms. Bass is an absolutely wonderful principal. She handles this, she takes it in stride, but that's like 3 new classrooms worth of students that she now has to put in classrooms. And that's just 27 days, 72 students. My hat's off to her. But we need to be addressing this picture. Now, what I did is I passed out to you from Ms. Cox. Do you have one or need it?
I do that one.
Okay. And it talks about the impact fee that we used to have that was over $5,000. And then because of the building slump, it went down. So I was looking through it, and so I know I talked to Ms. Cox. She said, well, we need to get some information from the county. I called my county commissioner and said, hey, I need this information, I'd like to have it for the next school board meeting, which is next month. Well, I called them again the other day, like 3 days ago, and said, hey, where's that? Oh, you know, the county's getting them so backed up, they just can't provide it at this time. And I said, well, you know, it's really hard to present without that. But as looking at this, on the second page, it says, from my understanding from reading the statutes, conversations with the VOC, the required actions to be imposed for an impact fee are as follows. Number one, the school board must vote to take action to implement a new impact fee for educational purposes. I don't see any reason why the school board cannot take that. Whether we proceed with it all the way to the end, I don't know. There's a lot of hurdles, but if we wait until everybody gets ready to provide us information that we don't really need to make this initial action, I think we're spinning our wheels a little bit. It's imperative that we take some action now. There may be other ways of fundraising. There's other issues here on the bottom that Ms. Cox approaches. Why not really try to upgrade our school district as a whole? If we do this and we do other things, our school system, our district, our schools would look as nice as some of our neighboring districts. And I don't know why we wouldn't pursue this. So here is my motion, Madam Chair. I think that the school board of Hendry County should vote to take action to implement new impact fees for educational purposes. That's my motion.
Is this an appropriate time? Should we want to do that, or should we wait until our the process is for this?
Thank you, Chairwoman and members of the board. I would recommend putting it on as an item on your regular agenda, just so that there's enough notice to the public before you take a vote, because generally you're supposed to have notice an agenda item when you're going to take action on a specific item, and this one may be something that is important to the public as well as to other board members who aren't here. So that would be my recommendation, is just to bring it back as an agenda item.
Do we need a motion to put it on for the next board meeting?
No, we can add that without said motion. And
Thank you.
And to tie that back together, we're working on some other, because we've heard you loud and clear, and we've been working on it, Ms. Cox, and now she's got a new staff member that's taken this and some other tasks on, and we are going to be coming back to you within the next month to no more than a month and a half with some other items that's going to tie this together with other needs. And so I think that if you allow us to do that in a methodical way, and then make some further presentations to you to help you understand where we are and what the implications of the different ones would be, that it would make more sense to the board, to the public, and to everyone, and then you make the informed decision that's best for the board and the community as well. So we've heard you loud and clear. We've not been ignoring it. We have been working on it. Even as of today, we're working on it. And so we're just not at this point. We don't have everything, as you said. The data is just sometimes not at our fingertips to be ready to bring that out.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, Mr. Senator?
No, that'll do it. Thank you.
Well, I'll be brief, because if I keep talking, I'll start coughing. Literacy Week last week was phenomenal. We got to go in the schools across the district, and the schools really outdid themselves, so did the students. It was a lot of fun, and I do appreciate participating in that. East Side, with their Leadership Day, phenomenal. Just, I wish we could have that program in every single school. I'm sorry, West Side. Mr. Buson's looking at me. West Side, thank you, Ms. Duncan. But no, Ms. Sanchez, we had the best little leader. In fact, I got the 3-hour tour. My little guy apparently didn't realize it was time for us to leave, but it was just a wonderful experience. And thank you, Ms. Buson, for kind of giving me, because I was kind of like, well, that's mighty early in the morning to Clewiston, but I'm glad I did it. It was totally worth it. And I could go on, but just thank you for Literacy Week, and thank you to the LaBelle Rotary for really stepping up and getting in our schools and promoting literacy as well. So I'm done.
They were phenomenal. I have to say, LaBelle Rotary was knocking it out of the park, like supporting all their elementary schools. It was nice to see the Rotarians in there.
Our goal is to help these children build their own small classroom libraries at home, so that they can have books they can love and cherish and value. And it's always fun to have Fred Kobe come and present a book to you. He's funny. So, on that note, all right, Mr. Superintendent.
I'm
do you
good
have
tonight, thank
any- Attorney Shattuck, do you have any?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Nothing tonight.